죽었어.
Nobody was ready for this. It started small, a disturbance forming far out at sea. Then it grew stronger, winds feeding off the warm waters of the Pacific. But nobody expected what happened next. Typhoon Ragasa, called the King of Storms, became one of the most powerful typhoons in Asian history. In just days, it carved a path of devastation through the Philippines, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and southern China, leaving behind floods, death, and shattered lives. The storm first struck the northern Philippines. Waves rose like walls and winds roared as Ragasa slammed into Cagayan province. Fishing boats tried to return, but some never made it back. 7 fishermen drowned when their vessel capsized off Santa Ana. 5 more were declared missing. Families waited by the shore, hoping for news that never came. Across northern Luzon, roofs were ripped away and homes washed out by sudden floods. At least 10 lives were lost in this first blow, and the storm was only beginning its deadly march. By the time Ragasa turned toward Taiwan, its strength had grown even more terrifying. Eastern Taiwan faced the worst when a decades-old lake barrier in Hualien County collapsed under the pounding rain. The water burst free with crushing force, sweeping away a bridge and transforming roads into raging rivers. Entire communities were submerged. At least 14 people died, dozens were injured, and 17 were reported missing. In Guangfu Township, where more than 8,000 people live, half the population rushed to higher ground. Cars floated down the streets, furniture drifted away, and the sound of collapsing structures echoed through the valleys. The scenes were haunting. Families crowded into shelters, soaked and shaken, clinging only to the idea of survival. Nearly 1,200 people spent the night in evacuation centers. Some said comfort no longer mattered, safety was enough. Rescue teams moved through flooded towns, wading waist-deep in water, pulling people from stranded homes. Across Taiwan, more than 7,600 residents had to be evacuated. The burst lake barrier marked one of the darkest moments of the storm's passage, a reminder of how quickly nature can tear apart decades of stability. Hong Kong prepared as Ragasa drew closer. Authorities shut down schools, canceled horse races, and grounded flights. Residents taped their windows, stocked food, and waited. When the storm passed about 100 kilometers south of the city, the winds screamed through skyscrapers at 195 kilometers per hour. Glass rattled, trees crashed, and seawater surged inland. The lobby of the Fullerton Ocean Park Hotel was shattered when a massive wave smashed through its front doors. Guests were swept off balance as water gushed into the building. Videos of the chaos went viral, showing a city fighting to hold itself together. By the end, more than 90 people were injured in Hong Kong. Over 860 residents sought shelter in temporary centers. Hundreds of trees fell, blocking streets and smashing cars. A mother and her 5-year-old son were dragged into the sea while watching the storm surge in Taiwan. The child was rescued, but the mother remained in critical condition. In Song Quan O, locals stared at a restaurant ripped apart by the storm. Some said it felt like the end of the world. Then Ragasa turned its fury on southern China. It roared ashore on Hailing Island near Yangjiang City in Guangdong Province. Winds at landfall reached 144 kilometers per hour. Chinese authorities had already evacuated more than 2 million people ahead of time, one of the largest evacuations in recent history. Still, the landfall unleashed chaos. Flying debris filled the air. Fire trucks rolled through empty streets as rain sheets hammered down. Branches whipped across the roads. The normally busy Yangjiang train station stood silent. Trains suspended, travel halted. In Macau, casinos, schools, and shops closed as the waters rose. Streets became rivers. Rescue teams used inflatable boats to reach those trapped in flooded apartments. Power was cut in low-lying areas to prevent electrocution. When the water receded, some residents waded through the muddy streets, catching fish left behind by the flood. The images painted a picture of a modern city temporarily brought back to the raw basics of survival. Flights across the region faced massive disruption. Hong Kong International Airport canceled more than 600 flights. In Shenzhen, operations were suspended, only resuming partially days later. Rail services across Guangxi shut down. Disneyland, shopping centers, and schools were all closed. Even horse races, a cultural tradition, were postponed as millions hunkered down. The numbers told a story of staggering scale. Nearly 700,000 people across the region were directly affected. Tens of thousands crowded into evacuation centers. In Guangdong alone, more than 38,000 firefighters and 400 emergency teams stood ready to respond. China's government set aside nearly $50 million for rescue and relief efforts across Guangdong, Hainan, and Fujian provinces. Still, loss was everywhere. In Taiwan, 14 dead and dozens more missing after the Barrier Lake disaster. In the Philippines, 10 lost at sea, their families left in grief. In Hong Kong, nearly 100 injured and families torn apart by sudden tragedy. And in China, despite the mass evacuations, millions faced damaged homes, broken livelihoods, and uncertain futures.
Ragasa alcanza Vietnam tras su paso por China. El tifón tocó tierra este jueves en Vietnam tras debilitarse durante su paso por el sur de China y haber dejado casi una treintena de fallecidos en Filipinas y Taiwán. El Centro Nacional de Pronóstico Hidrometeorológico de Vietnam informó de que la tormenta provocó fuertes vientos en varias áreas al este y sureste de Hanoi. En consecuencia, el ejército del país ha movilizado a más de 300.000 efectivos para responder a situaciones de emergencia que puedan surgir. La tormenta también alcanzó varias partes de China. En la ciudad de Yanyan se habilitaron 1.038 centros de acogida, mientras en Shenzhen se evacuaron a unas 400.000 personas y se mantiene cerrado su aeropuerto desde el martes. Por otro lado, en Guangxi, la llegada del temporal motivó la suspensión de trenes de alta velocidad en las líneas costeras.
The typhoon's path left scars that will take years to heal. Streets once bustling with daily life are now marked with mud and debris. Bridges are gone. Families sift through what little remains of their belongings. Communities gather in shelters, united by survival, but burdened by loss. Scientists warn storms like Ragasa will only grow stronger as the climate warms. Warmer oceans fuel more violent winds. Wetter atmospheres bring heavier rain. Cities like Hong Kong, Manila, Taipei, and coastal provinces of China stand directly in the path of these escalating disasters. Ragasa has shown what the king of storms can do, and it is a warning to prepare for even worse in the years ahead. Nobody was ready for Typhoon Ragasa. It started small, then grew into a monster. It battered nations, shattered cities, and tested millions of lives. But in every flooded street, in every ruined home, people held on to survival. The lesson is clear: nature's power is relentless, and when the next storm comes, Preparation may be the only shield against another tragedy. Share your tips in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more clear and calm reports on extreme weather events. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Please note that some footage in this video is for illustrative purposes and may not depict the exact events described. Thank you for watching and stay safe.